patch 6.21 patch notes are finally out, and we are going to be looking at some changes for the job, some changes for Savage rating, and these are very impactful. Unfortunately, for my Machinist friends, you're not going to be as happy, unfortunately. So to start off, we have the illumination of the pendant wall light furnishing, which is going to be a housing item, has been adjusted. Asphodelos raids, as in P1 through P4, now have the ability to get the echo. So undeniably, if you're trying to farm those out, that's going to be a huge help for a lot of people who haven't previously been able to clear. Now we're getting into the juicier bits of information, and so the first thing that I want to really discuss is that they have actually nerfed a raid, and I cannot remember the last time that I've actually seen a nerfer raid since like Gordius. See, my memory might be a little bit wavering on this, but I don't think that this is common whatsoever. And so flat out, just to give a little bit of context, it is widely regarded in the raid community right now, like across the entire raiding community, that P8S, which is the final boss of this current tier that was launched with 6.2, has a very brutal phase 1 DPS check. Compared to literally every other fight in this tier, it really has been rated as being just way difficult, which honestly a lot of people have kind of a give and take on that. Some people are just like, okay, that really pushes us to our limit and that's what we want from a Savage raid. And then unfortunately other people are just like, oh, okay, because it pushes us so far, we need to actually like actively select for or against certain particular jobs to meet this DPS check. Which unfortunately I can't turn a blind eye and say, no, I have absolutely never ever heard or seen this past few weeks of people swapping out completely new players in their raid group just so that they can beat this DPS check. Because, to be frank, I have. And so now I'm going to actually go into the explanation that the developers have gave, because I think that this, while I do personally think this is a largely healthy change for the game, is probably going to be controversial and there's going to be a lot of pushback. And so they say the reasons are, in our endeavor to create an encounter more challenging than Asphodelos the Fourth Circle Savage, the team, which was something that was highly requested. That, adding some context, that was highly requested. People said 4 was way too easy. The team responsible for the final adjustments spent a great deal more time than usual working on battles for this raid battle. Under normal circumstances, the DPS of this team serves as a base for determining the boss HP value that results in clears as close to the time limit as possible. However, the extra time was dedicated to testing this battle. The team's overall performance proved to be higher than usual. As a result, the base values used for adjustments were too high, with final values roughly 1% higher than intended. We have reduced the boss's HP to bring the battle in line with our initial balance projections, and we apologize for any inconvenience caused. So obviously, more exposure to a fight, anyone's gonna get better at it, and the better someone gets, well, you get that. But what should be definitely noted here is a lot of people are going to probably speculate and Doom's story saying, oh my god, they're completely gutting the fight. Like, in their own words, they said with final values roughly 1% higher than intended. That's 1%. So I think it's still going to be an absolute nightmare of a fight for most people, which is what you want from a Savage raid. You're not looking for pushover content, but I think that that 1% might give the wiggle room for a few other jobs, high Machinist, to hopefully fit in. And on that note, let's transition to job changes. And so the first job changes that we're going to be talking about is going to be the Paladin, and we are looking at all of their, like, quote-unquote confetti combo being buffed. And so Holy Spirit, you get 4 casts of those every minute, essentially. That buff increased from 560 to 600 potency is going to be 40 multiplied by 4, which is what, 160 extra potency every minute just on Holy Spirit. Confettier is getting 100 potency boost, so we're looking at 240 potency from both of those. And then we're looking at, nice, Expatiation being upgraded from 340 to 420 potency. Obviously that's an extra 80, which is nice. Then we're looking at Blade of Faith being increased from 460 to 480, so that's a little bit of a smaller bump from 20. And then Blade of Truth being increased by another 20, so that's going to be that. So obviously when taken in piecemeal, especially those last ones, they're not super significant, but these are going to all around, because every minute you get these out as a Paladin, add up to definitely a very significant DPS increase. While I don't think this solves all of the Paladin's problems, because it's just like, okay, Holy Sheltron has limitations when you're against like a bleed or a poison effect, I think that this is definitely pushing them into the direction where it's like groups will have obviously I'm speaking out of my backside until final numbers are actually in like factual hard numbers, but obviously this is going to boost up their DPS and hopefully keep it in line with the other tanks, make Paladin a more appealing option. And then we're looking at other buffs for the warrior, and we are looking at the combo potency of Storm's Path and Storm's Eye being bumped up by 20. So remember, it's 1, 2, 3, and their 3 can be Storm's Path or Storm's Eye. That's basically the same finisher for the 3 combo. One gives a buff, one gives a little bit of a heal and a little bit more gauge. So 20 isn't that much on its own, but considering that warrior is largely 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Y'all know that's true. This is going to add up for sure. Fell Cleave is getting a 10 potency nudge, so just a tiny little nudge on Fell Cleave. Again, that's an ability they use often, so that 10 is going to go a little further than you'd normally expect. And then Upheaval has its potency increased by 10 as well, which is 30-second cooldown, so you're getting roughly 20 potency more per minute. Largely, the explanation, as far as I understand it, is just to bring Paladin and Warrior in line with Gunbreaker, but this is kind of weird for me to see, because even when we were looking at some of the stats before, Warrior wasn't that far behind Gunbreaker, so I'm like, ooh. Like, I'm hoping that this doesn't push the Gunbreaker out of relevance again, because I remember last tier, people were largely saying, like, Gunbreaker just wasn't able to be taken because Warrior had better defensives and, like, better damage. But also the quality of life changes were also a thing, so maybe not. Maybe we'll see, hopefully, tank balance. I furrowed my brow when I said that. Lastly, this brings us to the most notable exception, which is Machinist. So we have, obviously, we have heard Paladin and Warrior are having some issues. Guys, am I literally the only person talking about Machinist right now? Like, the only person? Because where are the buffs? Where is anything? Like, even number tweaks. Like, I want to see, like, something like the barriers that I was talking about earlier, or other things that I was mentioning in today's video. We see nothing. And so that's a little discouraging. I'm really happy that I'm playing healer and sticking to my newliths this expansion, or book, but damn, I feel for all the Machinist players that were hoping that buffs were coming here. I am so freaking sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyhow, that is it for this video. As always, if this helped you out and you want to, like, help me out, it would make me super happy if you considered dropping buff, beefy, juicy, succulent Machinist buffs on that like button and cat daddying that subscribe button. Anyhow, take care everyone, and I hope you have a beautiful evening.